welcome to Wrestling and Everything, Coast to Coast, with your host, Buddy Sotello Esquire, Mike Lano, and Evan Ginzburg. Mike, do you want to introduce our guest for tonight?
Yep, I know she's been on before, and I called her my little sister for the first time, but I've known this beautiful, talented athlete, actress. She does everything. She has her Botanica soaps. I hope I'm getting that right. That we'll talk about, that we've had her on before many times, but we want to talk and celebrate. Evan broke the news when Matilda The Hun passed, and we wanted to talk to Jeanne Basone about her because they were always together, all of those guys, and I would see them in Vegas annually, and they supported, and we as overall wrestling, a big family, small in the scope of things, like our San Francisco Niners handily leading and going forward. But Jeanne, before we get into your soaps and all that, I do want to say get well, because you blew out your back today for those wonderful cats that you saved. Right. Zsa Zsa and Lala. Are those Hollywood names, as in Zsa Zsa Gabor and maybe Jiminy Glick, Martin Short's terminology for Hollywood, Lalawood? Where does Lala get her name?
Yeah, just Lala is it's perfect for a beautiful cat, just Lala, like La La Land. I don't know. And Zsa Zsa for Zsa Zsa Gabor, because this cat, I looked at both of them, and they're beautiful, and they're sweet, and they were little kittens, and we saved them, so they deserve beautiful names. So Lala and Zsa Zsa, plus those are cute names.
Well, so amazing, and that's the way to get loved extra family members. Go adopt them, save them, rescue them from a shelter. Don't go to a designer place, and buy them a breeder.
No.
That's fantastic that you did that. And
thank you.
Ev, let me ask your thoughts too on Glow, because I know you and I, for me in the LA market, it was on Saturdays, where Jeanne, I'm pretty sure you were born and raised here
Burbank.
Burbank. Burbank. Yeah, All right. I was right nearby for a majority of that when I wasn't in Westwood. Then I went back to Los Feliz, Griffith Park. So, right next.
Nice.
I've never asked you this, and then I'm going to throw to Evan, is like, when you were a kid, what were I don't know if you've ever answered this, because I know I haven't asked it. I don't think Evan's asked it the many times we had you on our old show or this one you've been on. But when you were a kid, were you more athletic, more show busy? What did you see yourself as being when you grew up?
That's a great question, Coach. As a kid, I didn't see myself in the beginning doing sports. I saw myself wanting to act. So I'm asking mom and dad in elementary school, hi, Mom, Dad, I'd like to do commercials. I'd like to be in movies. I'd like to give an Academy Award. I'm asking all these questions. Nobody said yes. Nobody said no. And so I figured, well, I played a lot of sports on my street, lots of boys. So I played sports with them. I can play with my sisters anytime, but the boys were more competitive. And I think that is so there was lots of sports in our home because my father was our coach. I played softball for his team. I played scholastic softball in high school. I lettered in softball, and I played scholastic volleyball. So there were some sports, a lot. And when you are the daughter of your father, who's the coach, oh my gosh, you have to be even better. You can't just give 100%, Mike. You got to give 110%, because dad will be all over your ass, and he would, because I pitched. I was first base, shortstop, second, third. I love third base, by the way, loved it. And then if you put me outfield, I love center field, but here I am going over to the right field, going over to the left field to grab all the balls. And, I enjoyed playing sports as a kid, but the acting part I always had in the background. And I figured, well, you know what? After school is out, I'll go do my own thing, with or without mom and dad's blessing.
So your mom wasn't dragging you to children's casting calls and stuff like Tony Dow from the Leave It to Beaver show, who Evan and I interviewed years back.
Oh, cool.
Many others. Evan, let me just read this very quickly about. And I guess she had some different work names, at least in wrestling, but she was way more than that. Matilda The Hun, just one of those worker names. But it says, Dina, did you pronounce her name Boer?
Boer, Deanna.
an American actress, pro wrestler, and roller derby skater. I did not know. Maybe she was on the T-Birds. You can answer that. She's known for her appearances with, of course, Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling as Matilda the Hun, as well as her appearances in films such as Brain Smasher, A Love Story, and Mel Brooks' Spaceballs with Joan Rivers. So, Ev, let me throw to you. She passed on January 7th. And I remember the last few years that you and I saw her, she was stuck in a wheelchair, but she did not lose her spirits. Really friendly, sweet, not in the wrestling ring where she was a killer, but she was really a sweet, great lady. Let me
Absolutely.
throw, and if everybody remembers, she was gigantic, big, big, big.
6'4".
Basically, I would just ask, what did she mean to you? And tell us about your greatest memories of her. You know, whatever you'd like to say.
Oh, that'd be great. So the first time I met Deanna was 1985, 86. And we were just getting ready to take our show, which was a pilot, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, to Nappy. For those who don't know what that is, that's syndication for TV. So David McLean and Matt Simber had chose 4 girls to help promote this in New Orleans. So it was Matilda the Hun, and I was just like, oh my God, am I going to wrestle this lady? Tammy Jones, myself, and Americana. So I met her when we were going to New Orleans, and boy, I got to tell you, you could tell she had been seasoned and been doing this for a long time, because her rap, and I don't mean her rap as in rapping in songs, but talking to people and going back and forth with Mountain Fiji was just like that. Boom, 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 boom. And I mean, when she was talking, there were no loss of words. She just kept going. So that's when I first met her, and beautiful lady. And I really, the cool thing about it is myself and my tag team partner, Vine, Janet Bauer, we were her second. So every time she went out, not every time, but most of the time when she went out, Vine and I would be her second. So one of my favorite matches with Matilda is the Gestapo match. Now, we're Germans. We're supposed to look like Nazis. And we're going against Americana, Little Fiji, and Mountain Fiji. And we all went shopping together. So we went to Los Angeles, even though the show was in Vegas. And we went to this prop house that Matt took us to. And they told us, pick out anything you want for this match, thinking on the lines of Germany versus America. So there was whips, and there were chains, and there were, oh my God, you guys, I can't even, Evan, I don't even want to like repeat some of the stuff, but you know how terrible. And of course, this was season 1 or 2, and we got away with everything.
Yeah.
By the time, we did. The censors we got away with all of it, and we're singing that Deutschland. I don't even know the song.
Yes.
Here I am. I'm a Catholic, you know. I don't know anything about the German Deutschland, and just with with Matilda behind us. I posted some photos last week of that match. It's crazy. I mean, and having Matilda there, like I said, very seasoned veteran, legend, icon. I was proud to be her second, good lady.
So I was really interested in finding a little bit more about your background and what exactly inspired you to do wrestling. I know you liked sports, but why wrestling in particular, especially because it was so physical, and you just hurt your back picking up some cat food. It's ironic.
Bag of cat food from Costco.
Oh, shut up. Okay,
that would be hard for anybody.
No, I just, I broke my hip falling down the stairs getting the garbage. And then last year I broke my shoulder between times that we were talking by tripping over my kid's scooter. So I have nowhere to but I look back on wow, I was power bombed and clotheslined and choked. I didn't hurt myself then, but I hurt myself with the most mundane things now that you're older.
Well, as we all know, I have been wrestling for over 30 years, and I still do it. So I'm still falling and landing. So, again,
you got to cut that out. It's catching up.
I love it. It is
unbelievable.
But I did not aspire to be a wrestler. I wanted to do some acting. But what had happened is there was an agency that I was with when I was doing my day job, which was drawing blood. I was a phlebotomist at a medical facility in Burbank, California. And I just happened to do some extra work with some friends one time, and I had to get with this agency. So the agency started putting out all these casting call messages, and I answered it. And I'm like, wow, they didn't tell me it was wrestling. They said, can you come to an audition for a sports show for television? I'm like, okay, I've played many sports. What could it be? I know what, thinking when you're 21 years old, you know everything, which you don't. I got to the audition, and David McLean was up there telling us this sports show was about wrestling. And my eyes got huge. My jaw dropped. I'm like, wrestling? Oh my God, I don't know anything about wrestling. My grandfather does. I'd watch it with grandpa back in the day, but you know, I didn't think twice about wrestling. And so I went down to the interview. Mondo Guerrero was training everybody. So I trained with Mondo. They weeded out all the ladies. They needed 12 people, 12 girls to do a pilot. Guess what? Hollywood was one of the 12. So we did the pilot, and I did all 4 seasons of our show. There you have it.
It's an amazing story.
Yes.
To the reason we have her on, though, let me read what this says here. And when you go to her IMDb, that of course is Matilda The Hun, Queen Kong. One of the very first photos that comes up is you guys with her. So it says she had her first foray into pro wrestling before Glow by organizing amateur mud wrestling shows, performing as the masked character Queen Kong. After California's Gaming Commission barred her from wrestling men, which I guess she was doing at these shows, her first pro match was against a 700-pound bear. So ties in for
Wow.
Jeannie lifting that 40-pound sack today, which is probably like
and you guys, she has about that 40-pound sack. That's not an easy. This is funny. I'm going to go back real quick, and then I want to tell you something. The 40-pound bag. When I went through the checking line, the guy goes, "Cats." He goes, "I buy those. I have 4 cats, and I buy that bag all the time." And we're talking about this bag and he mentioned how heavy that it was. Anyway, back to Matilda with the bear and wrestling the men and the slamograms. She has a book. She has a biography that
she wrote. Really?
She does. Yes, she does. And there are photos of her in the ring. It's crazy. I think one of the girls posted her with that bear. And of course, she had a loving, wonderful husband, Ken, that she called Poopsie all the time. And I had met him. What a nice man. They were a great couple. They were always laughing, always smiling, always having a good time. And so for those who didn't get to work with Matilda, you guys don't know what you missed, because those were fun days. Those were great days. It was a great time, Mike, and you know this, to be alive in the 80s, just music, everything.
I was sending you links to, well, I'm going to send you some links. I was talking your ear off in that email on 80s music, but it says that she teamed with McLean and Simber, and so she puts you over here because she helped with the casting, recruiting, and even training people. I guess she must have assisted Mondo for the Glow show. But it says, now you correct me, this IMDb, it says she also wrote the show's theme song, but that was like kind of...
Well, that's Raw Meat. There was Raw Meat that she did. There was a couple of people with the music. There was a man named Harry or Hank. Hank, I don't know how to pronounce it, D-O-U-N-G. It's not Dong. I don't know how to pronounce it. But he had written a lot of the music as well in the background. So you'll see his name on the credits as they go up. But she was responsible for Raw Meat, that binary.
Raw Meat in the ring to scare kids, which she said she enjoyed. So I guess she liked being sort of a Halloweenish monster.
She was a great heel. Great
Did you
heel,
ever,
Mike.
when McLean left, she left with him, I guess, after the first 2 years of Glow, left to go to POW, Powerful Women of Wrestling, in Indianapolis, which is where McLean started with Dick the Bruiser as a gopher, and then I guess he announced Bruiser Bedlam, that was the TV show. Did you also leave and go to POW or no? I forget.
So when I left, when season 1 and 2 were over, there were girls going somewhere else. I went to Japan, actually, and I did some modeling in Japan. And at that point, I'm like, I am only 22 years old. Do I still want to keep wrestling? I'm like, I want to live my life. I want to go party. I want to go enjoy this. I want to have a boyfriend. I want to do stuff, because during that day, there was we definitely were on a short leash. Let me tell you, you could not do a lot of things if you were caught doing drugs. Everyone talks about this drug thing. So maybe people were doing drugs behind the scenes, but if you were caught doing anything, you were fired immediately. And I know the ones that were fired immediately for doing it. But we had curfew at 12 midnight, and I remember coming home at 3 in the morning, and man, did I get in a lot of trouble for that. But there was a good reason why, and I'm not going to discuss it here. Maybe in my bio one day. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
You got to use my photos. We've been talking about photos in other people's book. Definitely, please bug me for photos throughout your career, all the decades I've known you. It says also, and I'll get this is the final thing. I'll go to Russ and Evan. She learned her signature big splash move. I thought she was going to say from Haystack Calhoun here in the U.S., who was the first touring attraction before even Andre the Giant or Dusty Rhodes after him, etc. But from watching British pro wrestling, big star over there, Big Daddy. He was a big, huge name, as Evan knows from his trips to England as well.
I love it.
Jeannie, let me just ask you, and I'll throw back to the other guys. I can't remember her in Spaceballs. What role did she play? Because there was Mel Brooks, there was Rick Moran.
Bearded lady. I think it was the bearded lady.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And 1989, Mike, listen to this. She was in the Aerosmith video, Love in an Elevator. You know that
Wow.
song.
Right. Yes. Carrying a dwarf on her shoulders.
I guess.
In the Aerosmith
Yes.
in the Aerosmith video. Okay, guys, I'll throw back to you. Whoever wants to chime in. So great, lady. We just want to celebrate. That's the point, really, of tonight's show. Me bugging
That's right.
Hollywood to come back on the show to celebrate the life of Matilda The Hun, Dee Boer, very, very sweet lady, and she was at that San Diego thing too with Nicole Bass, Evan. When Jeannie and Cheryl had me come down there, I didn't know who was going to be down there. You know, it was a little bit different environment for me. But Nicole Bass and her husband were there, as well as Matilda.
Everybody was there. Yes. Yes. Sorry.
No, sir.
We still got your audio. Oh. Now I think we lost Jeanne. Hold on.
We lost her.
Let me go and try to get her back.
So, Ev, I thought that would lead into maybe you talking about your.
There we are.
Yeah, Jeannie, Evan, knew.
Sorry about that.
Well, even better than I did, and I was great friends with her and Bob, her husband, her late husband. But Ev, you did so many things to help her out. He was there at her deathbed, etc.
Yeah, speaking since Mike brought it up, I was with Nicole Bass the very night before she died at the hospital. And so I want to ask Jeanne, you mentioned you were 21 years old, your whole life is in front of you, you have all these exciting opportunities and experiences and travel. And then, 30 years kind of goes like a blink of the eye and your friend is gone. Your friend is gone. So what does this tell you about friendship? To me, you have to seize the moment, because I lost 6 friends during COVID. 6. And, you never know one day to the next if somebody's going to be here or not.
No, you don't. So you need to live life to its fullest. And you know what? We should not sweat the little things, right, people? This whole social media and people behind these cameras and behind these desktops, I think it's changed a lot of people. And it's sad, we live once. And you're so right, Evan. You lost 6 people. I lost my uncle to COVID, and he shouldn't have died. And he couldn't get the vaccine because he was on that waiting list. Remember in the beginning when everyone had to wait? Well, yes. And so he died early because he got it in May of 2019. Would that be correct? 2019?
Or 2020.
Yes.
2020, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
horrible.
the friendships that we have and the friendships, fun thing about Glow, I remember I did all the 4 seasons, and as far as with me, I think that for the most part everybody got along really well. I know I got along with everyone well. There's little things here and there. It seemed like later on is when things got I don't know, when things get when people get older, I don't know, maybe you get bolder or louder, but it's not worth it. At the end of the day, I even reached out to someone that I haven't talked to in a very, very long time, but it's the thing that you do. If somebody passes away, you give your condolences. I mean, that's the way I was brought up and raised. Aside from anything else that you may not get along, but just to reach out to someone to say, I'm really sorry for your loss is, you be the bigger person. That's what, if more people would be like that, wouldn't life be better?
Of course. Russell?
Well, I just wanted to sort of change directions a little bit and mention how fabulous you look. You haven't, even with the back injury, you look fantastic. How have you managed to maintain this incredible level of fitness and beauty over all the years? That's what you were known for as Hollywood, and that glamour continues on even today. So.
You're very kind. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you. You know what? A lot of it is what you eat and what you don't drink and what you don't smoke anymore. I mean, I try to be healthy. And then I have mom and dad who are still alive. And I think it's genes. I have really good genes. I've always been thin. Always. I've never really had to worry about any weight. So I'm just lucky in that respect. But I love to work out. And I will be honest, I haven't been to the gym in 3 weeks, because it's just so bad here that I'm like, nope. So I do a little weights at home. But once everything gets back, and this COVID thing that's happening right this minute is, I can't wear a mask in the gym. I'd rather just be outside doing my exercise. So water, that's a good thing. See that right there? I don't know. Try to eat right. And I go to bed. I'm terrible. I'm an old lady. Right now it's 9:30. I'm cool with you guys because I'm talking to you. But boy, at like 10:30, Mike, you're up. I know that, but I'm asleep. Oh, my groceries are coming. Finally, I ordered groceries before it snowed, and they said my groceries were coming. And I've never done this, you guys. I only ordered groceries because it was $1 for delivery, and Kroger is like Ralph's. Ralph's, Mike.
Yep.
And I'm looking, and they were telling me that my groceries would be here at 10 o'clock, and it is 9:30 p.m. So anyway, I'm just looking. Ryan will go down and get them, which is
Well, plus your significant other is a big rock star, and we've talked on various private occasions about music and stuff. But tell us a little about him, because I was thinking about emailed you when I heard that Paul Stanley of Kiss had done a lot of great charity work for scleroderma and some other diseases that took the life of Bob Saget's sister. And Bob was real instrumental. And those two, I think it was Paul reached out to him. They didn't know each other at all, but they became like brothers, very close, because Saget was a real giving person and would break away from the comic stuff to be serious about helping raise funds for a brutal disease. And I think that's cool. And you see,
I do too.
Yeah, in music and comedy together, people doing a lot of good things together. So does your significant other, I mean, that's got to keep you in shape too. He probably has a crazy schedule with practice.
Yeah, he does.
Gigs.
So Ryan is a guitar player for Ace Frehley's solo band. He's also the guitar player for Gene Simmons' solo band. So when Kiss isn't together and Gene does his thing, Ryan plays for Gene. And the Ace Frehley gigs are starting in March again. So, Mike, you should come down to the Greek. They're playing the Greek April 22nd, I think. Ace is going to be.
It's outdoors. Safer.
It's outdoors. Maybe you could come if things are safer. Yeah. But he's good. And Ryan, like you are, is a huge music historian.
Did he know that super group? Because they're not well known. Obviously, Cream and like Robert Palmer with Duran Duran and stuff like that. Those were better known super groups. But these were precision guys.
Players.
Yeah, and
They're
when you put those guys together, yeah, you have music, but you also have these clashing egos because everybody wanted to run this group. They only lasted like two studio albums and a live one at Budokan in Japan. And but then the funny thing, because on their first album, I told you, they did this song that they had no intention of, it didn't mean anything to them 30 years. And so they decided to mend fences after 30 years and go back on the road, obviously to make some money, but they were still crack musicians. And then boom, two of the band members died, and including the lead singer, who I told you, he said, this was kind of cool, that he played in this group, the supergroup UK, to enjoy music and express himself. But he did Asia, where he was the lead singer, to make the money to support doing the more serious, more complex, dense music, as he put it. And that's
right. I didn't read that to him yet, but I'm going to, because it was kind of long and he was watching Polo Day. So yeah, so I will make sure that he.
But the funny thing is that lead guitarist, and you can hear him if you listen to any of those tracks. I'll send you the links because I don't know, you may not go to it unless
please
I do. Those.
No,
But when you have Clapton and Jimmy Page and Keith Richards and others saying this guy is the greatest guitar player ever, right next to Hendrix. And not that many people know the name of Alan Holdsworth, so it was called UK for a reason. All four of these legends were from, the UK. And
UK, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, so when I got those Bose headphones for Christmas as a gift, first thing I listened to, my friend Alan Parsons' group, Alan Parsons Project, but the 70s stuff, the early 70s stuff he did. And then I put on UK. I wasted a whole day just listening to music. No wrestling, because music is far more important to me, and it sure is to you guys.
I love music. I think that's another thing that keeps you young, Mike. I think, and Evan, and it makes music, Ryan being in the business and me loving it since day one. The kids next door had a band. They were older and they would rehearse outdoors. I would be the first one up on the wall looking over, watching that band play. And I think, and I became, that to me was live music in my backyard. Here's the band. I thought they were the Rolling Stones. You know why? Because they were doing covers. I didn't know they were the Rolling Stones. I didn't know what covers were, So it's kind of.
The next time I see, I'm going to hold up, because I went and got them the day they came out. Remember when Kiss, all four of them, released solo albums together at the same time? I got them all, whatever year that was.
We did too.
77, something like that, 76.
Something. Brian knows that by how I can go downstairs.
And I love Kiss. A lot of that music that we love and cherish, 60s, 70s, 80s, some of those songs you couldn't play today or you get deleted. Like Kiss's I'm 63, 64 and she's 16. Is that the name of that song? You couldn't play that today.
No. That's funny. That's very funny. That's what keeps you young. You got to keep going. I think if you stop, that's when you die, guys. I hate to say it like that. You just got to keep going. I say that to mom and dad. I want them to exercise more. They're getting older. I'm like, please. I go, okay, this is what you do, mom and dad. If you can't go outside because your ankle's bothering you, mom, and you're it's not working, whatever this thing that you're doing, when you're watching TV, could you just sit up like this and do squats? I make them sit up while they're watching TV on the commercials.
I put my mother-in-law on this show on PBS. It's called Sit and Be Fit for Seniors. And I swear, this woman's 95. She wouldn't do anything. And now she's doing Sit and Be Fit. Before we let you go, because I know you have to go, your groceries just arrived. Evan has a long history, not just with wrestling and the arts, but music. He was booking clubs. Ev, tell us about that, because I remember when they were our
I'd like to hear that.
I was a club booker down in legendary Greenwich Village, a few blocks from Electric Lady Studio where Hendrix recorded.
I know where that is.
Yeah. I mean, the heart of Greenwich Village. And for 3 years, I booked the club. And one night we had Latin music. We had hip hop night. The hip hop artists would come in. I'm telling you, we never had one problem, never had one fight. We didn't even have security. Okay, so the whole myth that hip hop equals violence is nonsense. And
Bullshit. Yes.
yeah. And every once in a while, my mom would come down, and she was in her 70s at the time. Speaking of elderly moms, and she was a jazz buff, and she would listen to the hip hop artist and go, "This is like jazz. They're improving. This is great. You know, this is a 75, 80-year-old woman. You know, so it was a great experience. Unfortunately, Sandy came in, you know, the big flood, and put us out of business. Yeah. Just put us out of business. Yeah.
It was Gizzy's, right? Was that
Gizzy's, yeah, 16 West 8th Street. Yeah. So
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I just love music with all my heart. And one of the
tell her though, because I want her to hear it from someone else, so she doesn't think I'm bullshitting. When I brought Grace Slick on, because she was doing more artwork, she hit on me. I told her I had a major crush on her back in the 60s, and then she started hitting on me like, well, why don't you come to my place here in Malibu?
Yeah.
I don't doubt that, Mike.
But Grace Slick, that song, is it White Rabbit? Just in another movie, which was like one of these video games, a violent video game, but that song, it was just so perfect with the imagery and the stuff. I mean, she is still one of the most powerful female rock goddesses of all time. I still love Grace Slick.
Oh, I love that.
I remember when that song came right on. Jeannie's too young to maybe not to know KHJ, but that was my station.
I know KHJ. That was our station. I am not that young. KHJ, 93 KHJ. Hello.
I remember all the DJs and when they started. Robert W. Morgan, 6 to 9. Sam Riddle was noon to 3, etc. The real Don Steele, 3 to 6. But White Rabbit debuted at it had its global debut at KHJ, and as did other Jefferson Airplane songs.
We had that station on, and that's another thing. Mom and Dad always had music on in the house. So 93 KHJ was always on in the morning before he went to school. It was on all the time. We went on our road trips. It was in the car. And then, of course, you have to go to different stations. Another thing I wanted to tell you, last Friday, I watch a lot of classic movies on Turner Classic Movies, and Rock and Roll High School.
Yep, I taped it.
I did too. It was so good.
Well, it's not a black and white classic. It's not a Bogart type classic. But.
No, it's a classic though. And then the film that came after it, Eating Raoul, it had Mary Warnoff, who I thought was she in Rock and Roll High School?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, but it was PJ Souls. Those were my two crushes in the 80s. PJ Souls and Mary Warnoff, who was actually an Andy Warhol.
Oh, maybe Mary was in there. Maybe Mary was that.
I think she had
the principal. Would she play the principal?
Yep.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah.
She was also in some other movie where she was a lady wrestler. I mean, she did quite a few stuff for somebody coming out like Nico out of the Andy Warhol whole
time.
Yeah, Evan, what did you want to say?
I was just going to say, Jeanne, we know you're in pain and we know you have a delivery. Why don't you plug whatever you want to plug?
All right, doll. You guys are awesome. First of all, I have a soap. It's a side gig. I love my wrestling and everything, and I love making soap with no preservatives. So I have one to show you. Look at this. Oh, this is cherry bang right here. Cherry bang. But I've been.
They all smell and work wonderfully. They're like professional, the highest level.
Thank you. Yes, here's my beach, and but it's called Hollywood Botanica. I spell it with a K. And you know what? I just one day wanted to find out, how do you make it? I don't want preservatives in. I want something that feels good for your skin. So that to me is just a side gig. It's just something I love to do. If I get off the road from a convention or doing some wrestling or whatnot, I don't want to go out. I want to stay in the house and make my soap. So I do. That is something that's kind of very cool. Also, I have a new comic, a wrestling comic that John Crother wrote. This is John.
We know John. We've had him on the show. Yeah.
He's so nice. I love him. And he loves you guys too. Check this out though. I made sure that they did the first original.
Oh, your blur is on.
It's a little blurry.
Oh, it is.
Because you have the blur effect on. It just kind guess covers your face, but everything else looks like it's censored. We're not censoring it.
She's fixing that. The website is Hollywood and then capital BOTANIKA.
Yep, HollywoodBotanica.com. But
Why don't you-
anyway,
Why don't you try to get on Shark Tank with the soaps?
you know, it would be fun because if you don't, I don't know. You just made me think about that right now. I did think about it actually.
I mean, even if they say no, the publicity is unbelievable.
It's true. Just saying you're on Shark Tank is
Yeah.
enough to make people money.
All right, I know because there are some stupid inventions, and I'll watch it and go, they just did that, but what a way to advertise for free.
Exactly.
And your background will make you a candidate. They'll want to just talk about, Hollywood, having Hollywood on the show.
Well, the way she could sell it too, she could behind her, they could open up the curtain, and there's all these sweaty, smelly wrestlers who've just had a big, huge match, and they need to soak down and clean up. And
You're a genius, Mike. That would work.
Mike, that's great. The gimmick is great. We'll have a referee as well. We can use Steve Blance as a referee.
And someone swearing too much, you could wash his mouth out with it. As a finishing move. As a finishing move.
I just came across this. Jeannie was also in Gene Simmons' Tongue Magazone, and the pictorial sort of magazine, but it says Magazone on your IMDb in the headlock hotties. So Jeannie was the queen of the headlock hotties, and I'm trying to just find when Jeannie referenced the book on the Kong. Matilda. It was called Glamazon Queen Kong: My Life of Glitter, Guts, and Glory, published in 2014. So I'm going to say,
go get it.
Jeanne, I want to have you back on the show sometime
thank
in
you.
the future. And I'll drop both of these two, and it's just going to be me and you. And then I can just,
I think so.
really ask you the questions I wanted to ask you.
Mother has to be there to protect her.
I promise that I will come back. I would come back for each and every one of you. I've been on Evans before, but I will come back for each three and we can talk. And you guys, thank you for remembering Matilda for all of us. I will, and thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thanks,
I appreciate it.
Have a good 2022 until we talk to you again. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Jeannie.
You guys are so.
Oh, she's just saying you guys are so sweet.
I didn't say one of the nicest people, apart from wrestling.
Yes.
So she's one of them.
She was at our 350 days premiere.
She came out to New York, and I was with the.
You were at the Hollywood Theater premiere.
Believe me, guys, there isn't a red-blooded male from the 80s that isn't thrilled to talk to Hollywood from Glow. I mean, that just about every guy in the world would like to have, half an hour.
I've been around her so long and have known her since, whatever year it was, 85, 86. She's beautiful inside.
She's vivacious.
So
she's vivacious.
Sweet person, always thinking of others and stuff. So that was why I had her on. I wanted to pay tribute to this, great lady, because we lost people. Evan mentioned Dwayne Hickman. I had no idea, so I'm reading the New York Times today, finally getting to a couple of back issues.
We're losing people every day. We just lost Fred Paris from the Five Satins and the
Ohio Players, the guy from the Ohio Players.
The legend of legends. What a wonderful voice. One of the most powerful, awe-inspiring voices, not just for Be My Baby, but so many other songs, the Christmas song with the Ronettes, and great.
Sonny Turner from the Platters. I mean, one after another. And I had kind of an awkward experience because I publicly stated that 2022 looks like it's going to be another celebrity apocalypse, like 2016 when Prince and everybody died.
Prince and Bowie
and Bowie at the top of the list, and 50 other people. And somebody actually used the word, not directed at me, but in general, idiots. Idiots mourn celebrities that they don't know. And I disagree. I disagree because, one, it's a cumulative effect. Like I said earlier in the show, I lost 6 friends during COVID. Buddy, Russ, and Mike lost parents in the past couple of months. So then on top of it, you know, you're mourning to begin with, and then this celebrity that you love died, and this one. And you know, we're in media. I've met a lot of these people. I've interviewed a lot of these people. It's more personal. So,
but even if you don't know them, a part of you dies when those people that you followed and they are part of the fabric of your life, like it or not. You know, you're
track of their musician, like say, I don't know, say Ronnie Spector. I mean, I bought records in the 60s, and 63 was when I bought my first 45. And, you know, so they were like the soundtrack for Evan's life, my life, Russ's life.
I've probably seen Ronnie Spector a dozen times live. Fred Paris a dozen times. They were always on oldie shows, these package shows where you had 5, 6, 7 acts, time and time again. You know, you walk up to them, you get their autograph, you interview them, you know, as a radio host, etc., so on. So there's a real connection. It's not, and you know, for somebody to say, you know, you're being negative, you're an idiot, these weren't, you know, people in your life. I don't think feelings, emotions are something that you need to apologize for. I just, I'll tell you, I'll never forget, James Brown died on Christmas Day. And when it came on the TV, it was like a punch in the face, because some of the best nights of my life was seeing James Brown live. Yep. And the one time I met him, I asked him to sign his autobiography, and the guy hugged me and he said, "We're all brothers."
Wow.
And it was really beautiful, you know, and I know the guy had his demons, blah, 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 but my experience with him was beautiful. So
I got to shake his hand. He came into the crowd and picked her up. We were like in the third row at an outdoor, fantastic in the wine country, outdoor thing. And yeah, it was a lot of white folks, but there were some African-American folks. But he came out and he picks, you know, grabs her by the hand, has her dance with him and hugged her and that stuff, and then shook my hand and went back up. And he didn't know me. I wasn't shooting. I was just there to enjoy a total legend who meant a lot to me, who meant a lot to Evan, maybe more so. And when Evan talks about these folks pouring out his heart, you know, it's like keeping them alive. If you don't talk about these people when we lose them, that's kind of when they die, if you're no longer talking about them. But Evan is going a step further, paying tribute to them, honoring them. And I don't think there's anything better than that. So I would be completely on the other side of whoever said that. But obviously, the people in your own life, a mother, something like that, is far different loss than, you know.
Of course. But the other side of it is, yes, a Sidney Poitier was honored, revered, monetarily compensated. A lot of these jazz, blues, R&B people did not get the fame, the acclaim, the money that they deserve. So, you know, you could walk up to the first 1,000 people on the street and go, Fred Paris died, and probably 995 will go, who? I don't know who that is, you know? So it's nice that you honor them and, you know, discuss their achievements and what they meant to you. I don't really, same with wrestlers, you know, the media will, the quote unquote wrestling journalists will write thousands and thousands of words on some meaningless Raw, which is vanilla, instantly forgettable pablum 90% of the time. Some indie wrestler will die. Nobody gives two shits about it. They don't even mention the guy. It's like 2 sentences. By the way, so-and-so died. It's like, you know, come on. This guy devoted his life, sacrificed to be a wrestler, spent countless hours in the gym training, you know, acknowledge the guy, you know, and it's not like it's that difficult to research a person today. You Google them, you take a half hour, you got the guy's whole life story in your hand. But Raw, they'll write 5,000 word pieces, you know, the Usos wrestled New Day for the 400th time. This is really newsworthy.
Yeah, that was last Friday. You're right.
Yeah.
That was last Friday. Let me ask Evan, though, and Russ, if you were excited at all, because all of the releases, particularly from WWE, Ring of Honor, who knows if they're really truly, it sounds like they're going to try to return in April because they are having a live show, believe it or not, if it even happens because of COVID, around WrestleMania, when every company in the world comes in, usually even Impact. But the ROH guys now are doing, there's about 6, 7, 8 of them. Now, Jonathan Grisham was there as well, but he didn't participate in like this invasion angle destroying the Impact wrestlers. But all of a sudden, Impact Wrestling is much watched because all the Ring of Honor folks are there. And it's fun. Jonah, who was in NXT from WWE. So Impact and NWA and AEW are all benefiting by WWE sucking and releasing all these talents. And they're flourishing. We're about to see any week now. I know Tony Khan is trying to hold back the Briscoe brothers, not Jack and Jerry, but the Ring of Honor Briscoes.
Who are great.
They're going to start. Oh, they're incredible. They are going to be working for AEW soon. And man, what a talent roster. They have a talent roster that kicks WWE's ass any year you could go back to. You know, once the Briscoes come in, they are it for singles, for women, for tags. It's amazing.
Yeah. Game Changer Wrestling, the Briscoes are going to their big show next Saturday, and that's going to be on pay-per-view. The main event's Moxley and Homicide. That's a damn good match.
You got Jeff Jarrett, Scotty 2 Hotty, and so it's like ECW when ECW was great. Not all death matches, but there are some legends and some real classic, fantastic wrestling going on. So they have, it's a hybrid of styles, not just what got GCW to most people's attention, which was all the gore stuff, the Nick Gage. But now they've wisely moved on now, and they're following that. They're the hottest promotion in the world. Everybody's talking about GCW now.
They sold out the Hammerstein in no time. So let's let Buddy talk because he hasn't said much. He looks stunned over there. What's up?
Yeah, no, Mike, you've swallowed the mic tonight. You've pretty much taken. Yeah. So you keep saying you're gonna leave it up to us for a second, and then we never get there. So actually, I wanted to talk to you, Evan, about you saw Shanghai last night and the 10 Rings, the Legend of the 10 Rings, because you wrote that up in your review, and I watched it last night as well. So
I sheer coincidence.
Considering the hundreds of films that you watch, the fact that we watched the same thing on the same night is actually pretty stunning coincidence indeed. So I watched it with my daughter. I wanted to make a comment about that film in particular, but also about films of today, because one of the things I've been doing with my daughter is we're going back and watching what I consider like the must-watch classics of my day. My son doesn't really care about it, but my daughter wants to sort of see the movies that I watched when I was around her age and that influenced me. So we've watched all sorts of stuff like Gremlins and The Adventures of Baron Munchausen and James and the Giant Peach and the Batman films and Superman films. And one thing I'm noticing, especially about the older films, the older films knew kind of when to call it quits and when to stop filming. And most older films are between 1.5 hours, 2 hours maximum. You almost never see an older film like from, say, 1989 backwards lasting longer than 2 hours unless it was a biopic. But Shanghai last night, that's about a 2.5 hour movie, okay? Didn't you even get the feeling like at a certain point, like after about an hour and a half, like it should be wrapping up about now, and it doesn't, and it overstays its welcome?
Yes. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a better than average popcorn film, Marvel film. I love Michelle Yeoh, Tony Leung. These are like legit martial art film legends. The lead was very likable. Aquafina, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, she's great. I mean, she's all charisma, So I enjoyed it, but at no point, not for 1 second, did I think the lead was in any danger whatsoever. You know, you just assume it's a franchise like James Bond or whatnot, like Spider-Man. So with no danger, there's no real suspense. I wouldn't say any of the fights were on par with a Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Donnie Yen. I love martial arts films. I go back to Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest down at the Grindhouse in Chinatown. I go back to the early 70s watching these films. So I did not think it was a great martial arts film. I thought it was a really entertaining, fun popcorn movie that, yes, they could have shaved off 10 or 20 minutes easily. It is what it is.
That's my point, is that there just seems to be a problem with modern cinema where they think more is better. And, there's this feeling like if people like 10 minutes of a karate fighting scene, well, 20 minutes will make it twice as good. And it isn't always. There are times where you can say, you know what, the point has been made. These guys are fighting, okay? You don't need to extend out the scene, especially with the CGI effects.
The CGI is overkill. And also, like I said, you just go, he's not going to die.
It becomes formulaic. And you're so expecting the fight scenes that they have really are almost like dance numbers, in the sense that that they've got, no one's just going to punch somebody right away and then that's the end of it. You know that there's going to be so if you see that 500 times, that doesn't make it 500 times better just to see somebody dodge a punch.
Yeah, there's videos on YouTube with Bruce Lee doing the 1-inch punch, and he knocks the guy like across the room, with a 1-inch punch. So if a black belt's hitting you 500 times, it would kill you in real life. It's not the most realistic.
What's the big deal with this movie was, like Black Panther, a movie for its genre, African Americans, although everybody loved it, was entertained by it. But this was finally a movie starring the vast majority of the crew were Asian Americans.
And we can look forward to the Jewish one, right? We're gonna have the Jewish one.
That's
right.
They'll
have a golem or something like that.
Did you guys watch it on Disney? Were you just streaming?
I got it out of the library. It's already on DVD.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leap from movie theaters to streaming to DVD is like nothing.
In hours. It takes hours now.
Nothing.
Not weeks.
Since you mentioned dance, let me just throw this in. I saw the new West Side Story, and it's just magnificent. It's a masterpiece. You don't even have to compare it to the original. You could just take it on its own merits. It's like the most beautiful thing you'll ever see. It's oh my God, and I'm sitting there. Tragically, there's 8 people in the theater. 8. Okay. They said Spider-Man did 90% of the box office. Spider-Man, every other movie got a fraction of the 10%. Spider-Man did 90% of the box office. West Side Story lost money. It's I can't.
Fortunately, it was Spielberg, so he can afford to lose it. But your point is made.
It just deserves to be seen. It's the highest level of art this society can attain. West Side Story. I mean, wow. Oh man. Every single person in that theater sat there crying and drained and didn't have the strength to get up during the credits.
That's how I felt after the 49er game today, by the way, in the same way, different reason. So, so what do we got to we got a couple more minutes to round out the show here.
Let me pull our friend of the show. But anyway, Big Time Memories, that docu-series, I think it's season 3. And these guys drop every week on YouTube, free, at least 50, 60-minute, nothing, 2.5 hours, documentary on Detroit wrestling. But these guys went to the Sheik's original home and his grave site. That is one of the documentaries. Go to just Google it. Big Time Memories. The Sheik, the fireball throwing Sheik, Ed Farhat, total legend. When you think of the Sheik, this is the real Sheik, not Iron Sheik, none of the other copycats, not great.
Well, there's that other documentary of his that I like to bite people, right?
I like to hurt people.
I like to hurt people. Sorry.
One was a fun because it was just the Sheik allowed this guy with the camera in there, and that's actually probably one of the all-time great ones, along with was it Amazon Queen, the Vivian Vachon wrestler story, Grunt the wrestling
Queen.
And
I remember Grunt. That was when I was just getting started. I like tried to watch every wrestling movie I could.
The Sheik one was fun as a docu, but for filmed wrestling, 1973, The Wrestler, not Evans the Wrestler, but this is the Vern Gagne the Wrestler, right. The scene between Rhodes and Murdoch versus Bruiser and Crusher, out of this world. Billy Robinson was in that. That one's one to seek out, along with I Like to Hurt People. You want to see the Sheik rip up Terry Funk's arm, bloody Dory Funk Jr. and Jack Briscoe, and anybody else that was in that promotion, Luis Arriba Martinez. Oh man, it is incredible.
Let me throw this out there before we wrap up. WWE posted that Roman Reigns has been champion 504 days.
Done.
And I posted, I like Roman Reigns, and that's great, but Bruno was champion for eight years. Okay, 8 years.
It's just such a different era. I mean, it's such a, it's like comparing complete games from the baseball's early days to nowadays. The game just isn't played that way anymore. So the whole
but then this is relevant. Then they said, Dave Meltzer said that Roman Reigns had the most 4-star plus matches in 2021. He had 9 4-star plus matches. So I posted that the great NWA champions, Flair, the Funks, Jack Briscoe, Harley
9 in a month.
I said they had that in a month. 9.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Maybe in a week if they did a couple of double shots. I mean,
sure.
So the bar is just set so much lower. So then of course this young guy starts attacking me. You don't understand. Those 18 title offenses Reigns had was seen all over the world because of their TV. I said, no, you don't understand that a guy like Bruno kept the promotion going. That was what kept the promotion alive.
And he was facing competitors that were at a much higher level of performance.
Well, I don't know about that, but Bruno was Vince Sr. begged, and Bruno told me this because he used to call me every Sunday. He wanted to know how badly Vince's buy rates and the TV ratings were doing, until they snookered him into doing the Hall of Fame thing. But that's another story. But Bruno was begged to come from Toronto to save the company for Vince Sr. in '63. Buddy Rogers, surprisingly, is fantastic and is beloved, and I knew him well, but he was not drawing as champion and as a heel champion when Vince Sr. started that. That was his first singles big champion. Anyway, so he begged Bruno to come back. Told Bruno, you can squash Rogers and blah blah blah, and he carried that. Not one. I mean, the title reign that Evan's talking about, but then he followed it up when Morales started not drawing outside of Madison Square Garden.
3.5 more years.
Yeah, his second title reign. And again, I remember, so I was there shooting December 10th, 1973. Bruno took it back from Stasiak, who had just taken it, but 8 days from Morales before that. And then went on. The greatest Bruno matches, well, the 2 great series I saw in his second title reign against Don Leo Jonathan, the greatest big man wrestler ever, and against Spiros Arion, who Evan, saw all of that. I mean, there's no comparison. And Bruno's matches, Russ is right. There were a lot of great opponents, sometimes not so great, Smasher Sloan and folks like that. There weren't always, the Toru Tanakas and the George Steeles in his prime, not the stuff that most people, from 83 on or 82 on think of George Steele. No, this was when he was a really credible heel, and so many other ones. And Bruno against Bill Watts. in the 60s against Gene Kiniski at Madison Square Garden. Those were, probably would be 5-star matches if you looked at it with today's eyes.
Kowalski, Monsoon, Bruno wrestled everybody.
Sheik, Burpo.
And that's the whole thing, that Roman Reigns hasn't wrestled everybody. He's had a very select schedule to work with. Now, hey, he's come back from cancer, and I have all the respect for him in the world.
Likable. He's a nice guy. He is the promotion now. That's the greatest.
It's not Roman Reigns I have the problem with. It's the fanboys, like Evan's talking about, who just want.
I like Reigns, and I love the Shield, but a guy that has nine excellent matches in the course of a year is not Harley Race. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just look at Race or Dory Jr. or Terry or Briscoe, as you mentioned,
or Flair.
Yeah,
Prime Flair.
Yeah, no, they fought, and on TV, and they did it for free. They fought on TV, and they fought on TV for free. You didn't even have to, go to a pay-per-view or a house show, a big house show, to see it happen.
If Flair wrestled Steamboat 50 times, they had 50 4-star plus matches. Right, Mike? As simple as that.
Yeah, and a lot of them, Cornette dubbed me, all of that stuff from Mid-Atlantic, but a lot of that stuff was not taped, was not handheld, and sadly we're missing all those Steamboat Flair classics. Yeah, just amazing stuff. And the fact
I've been going to wrestling almost 50 years. The greatest live match I ever saw was Flair and Steamboat at the Meadowlands. They went 35 minutes. It was art. It was art. So now, of course, you got the fanboys going.
Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid at
I saw Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid at the Garden, but
that was pretty damn good too, Evan.
Oh, that was unbelievable, ahead of its time. But I'm just saying, the fanboys today are like, Flair's overrated. It's the same 5 moves. I'm like, you couldn't have been there. I saw the guy every month in Philly. The guy was phenomenal.
It's true. All right. Well, we're at our time limit for this week. Therapy session's over. You can, we'll check in back on the couch, the virtual couch, next week. And thank you, everyone, for checking us out. And we'll have another great show next week. Good night, everybody.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Kobate.